Hello and welcome to Olive Board. In this lesson, we'll be discussing the history of Jammu and Kashmir. According to legends, an ascetic named Kashyapa reclaimed the land that now comprises Kashmir from a vast lake, and this land came to be known as Kashyapamar, which later became Kashmir. In the 3rd century BC, the Mauryan Emperor Ashoka introduced Buddhism. From 9th to 12th century, the region became the center of Hindu culture. In 1346, it came under Muslim rule. In 1819, the Muslim rule ended when it was annexed to the Sikh kingdom of Punjab. In 1846, it was annexed to the Dogra kingdom of Jammu. Raja Gulab Singh was created Maharaja, that is the ruling prince of the Himalayan kingdom, to the eastward of the river Indus and westward of the river Ravi. In the late 19th century, the region became the political buffer zone interposed by the British between their Indian Empire and the empires of Russia and China to the north. Now, what happened when India gained independence, that is in 1947? In 1947, by the terms agreed upon by India and Pakistan during the partition of India, the rulers of princely states were given the right to opt for either Pakistan or India or to remain independent with certain reservations. Raja Hari Singh, the Maharaja of Kashmir, signed an instrument of accession to the Indian Union in October 1947. Thus, Jammu and Kashmir became a part of India. Localized warfare continued during 1948 and ended through the intercession of the United Nations in a ceasefire that took effect in January 1949. In July 1949, India and Pakistan defined a ceasefire line, that is the line of control that divided the administration of the territory. Now let us look at the attempts at resolution and legitimization of Jammu and Kashmir. In 1962, Chinese incursion into Ladakh led to the Indo-China War of 1962. Indo-China War that happened in 1962. This was followed by warfare between India and Pakistan in 1965. A ceasefire was established in September 1965, stopping this warfare. In January 1966, an agreement was signed by the two sides, that is India and Pakistan, at Tashkent, Uzbekistan, in which both the countries resolved to try to end the dispute by peaceful means. In 1971, another war broke out between India and Pakistan. This war resulted in the creation of a third country, that is Bangladesh. An accord was signed in 1972 in Shimla, which expressed the hope that henceforth the countries in the region, that is India and Pakistan, would be able to live in peace with each other. A number of movements have variously sought a merger of Kashmir with Pakistan, or independence for the region from both India and Pakistan, or the granting of Indian Union Territory status to Buddhist Ladakh. To contend with these movements and to confront Pakistani forces along the ceasefire line and to support the administrative structure of Jammu and Kashmir state, the Indian Union government has maintained a strong military presence in Jammu and Kashmir, especially since the end of 1980s. Now let us look at the insurgencies and counter-insurgencies that happened in the state of Jammu and Kashmir. Many militant organizations began to pop up in the late 1980s. Their purpose was to resist control from the Indian Union government. By the early 1990s, the militancy had evolved into an insurgency. The border conflicts between India and Pakistan in western Ladakh led to the Kargil War in 1999. Intense fighting ensued between the infiltrators from Pakistan and the Indian Army and lasted for more than 2 months. The Indian Army managed to reclaim most of the area on the India side of the line of control that had been occupied by the infiltrators. Hostilities finally ended when Prime Minister Nawaz Sharif of Pakistan gave his assurance that the infiltrators would retreat. Every year on 26 July, Kargil Vijay Divas is celebrated to commemorate the sacrifices of the Indian Army. in the Kargil War of 1999. However, shelling across the line of control continued intermittently until a ceasefire agreement was reached in 2004. Following this, limited passenger bus service began in 2005 between Srinagar and Muzaffarabad in Pakistan on either side of the frontier. Also, after the devastating earthquake that happened in the end of 2005, India and Pakistan allowed survivors and trucks carrying relief supplies to cross at several points along the line of control. Also, in 2008, both countries opened cross-border trade links through the Kashmir region for the first time since the 1947 partition. This link was between Srinagar and Muzaffarabad and also between Rawalkot, Pakistan and Poonch, India. We now know about the disputed territory between India and Pakistan. Now let us look at the disputed territory with China towards the east of Kashmir, that is in Ladakh. After Chinese authority was established in Tibet and reasserted in Xinjiang, Chinese forces penetrated into the northeastern parts of Ladakh. It allowed them to build a military road through the Aksai Chin Plateau area completed in 1956 to 1957 to provide better communication between Xinjiang and western Tibet. India's belated discovery of this road led to border clashes between the two countries that culminated the Sino-Indian War of 1962. China has occupied the northeastern part of Ladakh since the conflict. India refused to negotiate with China on the alignment of the Ladakhi boundary in this area. Till today, there has been no resolution to the disputed Ladakh frontier. The process of formalizing Jammu and Kashmir status as a state took several years and was completed only in 1957. That is, it took 10 years from independence. The state has also been administered directly by the central Indian government for brief periods, although one such occurrence lasted for 6 years, from 1990 to 1996. Sheikh Mohammed Abdullah, founder of the JKNC, that is Jammu and Kashmir National Conference, served as the first head of the government. He was called the Prime Minister until 1965 and then Chief Minister, until he was dismissed from office by the national government in 1953 and was imprisoned for 11 years on the grounds that he sought to separate Jammu and Kashmir from India. He later returned to government as Chief Minister, in office from 1975 to his death in 1982. His son, Farooq Abdullah, also served as the Chief Minister of Jammu and Kashmir in 3 terms, from 1982 to 1984, then from 1986 to 1990, and finally from 1996 to 2002, as did Farooq's son, Omar Abdullah, who served as the Chief Minister from 2009 to 2015. On August 5, 2019, a decision was taken to abrogate sections 370 and 35A of the Constitution. Following this, Jammu and Kashmir was bifurcated from October 31 into 2 union territories, Jammu and Kashmir and Ladakh. The Constitution of Jammu and Kashmir and the Ranbir Penal Code ceased to exist. Also, the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir has a legislature, while the Union Territory of Ladakh doesn't have a legislature from then on. Both the Union Territories will have the governors as administrators who will be appointed by the President of India. The tenures of the governors will also be determined by the President. Following the bifurcation, there shall be a legislative assembly for the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir, and the total number of seats in the legislative assembly of the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir to be filled by the persons chosen by direct election shall be 107. Also, there shall be a council of ministers consisting of not more than 10% of the total number of members in the legislative assembly, with the chief minister at the head to aid and advise the governor in the exercise of his functions. The High Court of Jammu and Kashmir shall be the common High Court for the Union Territory of Jammu and Kashmir and the Union Territory of Ladakh. Now let us look at some of the important historical places in Jammu and Kashmir. Akhnur Fort. The Akhnur Fort lies on the bank of the Chenab River and was built by Raja Alam Singh. in the year 1802. The fort is perched upon an ancient site depicting three periods of history. The first period is represented by Harappan red and grey earthenware. The second period is marked by early historic pottery, while the third period is represented by Kushana objects. Next we have the Amar Mahal Palace. This palace was built in the year 1862 in a unique French chateau style of architecture. This palace lies on the banks of the Tavi river. The structure was built for Raja Amar Singh, who was a Dogra king. This palace served as the last residence for the Dogra kings. Semthan and an ancient site of Sakradhar. Near the town Semthan, there is a small hillock named Chakdar or Old Chakradhara, that is Vishnu. This name is mentioned in the Nilmat Purana and also in Vitasta Mahatmya. On the Chakdar hillock, there is a place called Hathidwara, that is the gate of an elephant. This place is also famous for some other temples and tombs. Bahu Fort. Bahu Fort stands tall and sturdy on the left bank of the Tavi river. Raja Bahu Cholan constructed this magnificent fort over 3000 years ago, making it one of the oldest monuments in the city. The Dogra rulers later made some renovations and restorations to the fort. The next one is Balidan Stump War Memorial. To show eternal gratitude to the martyrs of various wars fought in Jammu and Kashmir since independence, the Indian Army conceived a unique war memorial at Bahuwali Rakh near the historic Bahu Fort and named it Balidan Stump in Jammu. Balidan Stump is the first war memorial of India. Balidan in Hindi means sacrifice, while stump in Hindi means pillar. Hence, it is the monument of sacrifice. The next one is the Bhimgarh Fort. The Bhimgarh Fort is also known as the Riyasi Fort. It is a historical monument located in the picturesque town Riyasi in Udhampur district. Originally, the fort was constructed with mud only, and later Maharaja Rishipal Rana, who was the founder of Riyasi, reconstructed it by using stone. It was first renovated by Maharaja Gulab Singh of the Dogra dynasty in the year 1872. The next historical place is Vamjava Cave Temple. This temple is located just off the highway to Pahalgam and is dedicated to Lord Shiva. A temple is enshrined in one cave which has a trefoil arched doorway surmounted by a pediment and side walls. The next one is Draswan Memorial. Located in Kargil, the Draswan Memorial was built by the Indian Army in memory of the soldiers and officers who lost their lives during the Kargil War in 1999. It is also known as Vijay Path. Next we have a very old architecture, that is the Martan Sun Temple. A spectacular shrine dedicated to Surya, that is the sun, was constructed between the 7th and the 8th century and is known as the Martan Sun Temple. The temple complex was built by Lalitaditya, who was the third ruler of the Karkota dynasty. Next we have the Mubarak Mandi Palace. The architecture of the palace is an elaborate blend of Rajasthani, Mughal and European influences. One of its most spectacular segments, the Sheesh Mahal or the Pink Hall, houses the Dogra Art Museum. The oldest building in the palace complex dates to 1824. Islam came to Kashmir in the 14th century. Sultan Jain ul Abidin is credited with the construction of many gardens in his capital Naushahar at Andur Court and the island garden of Jani Lank within the Ular Lake. The garden of Jani Lank may have set the precedent for the later Mughal island gardens like the Ropa Lank and the Sona Lank within the Dal Lake. Later, Kashmir became the summer resort to successive Mughal emperors Akbar, Jahangir, Shah Jahan and Aurangzeb. To Jahangir, Kashmir seemed a paradise of which priests had prophesied and poets sung. Almost all popular Mughal gardens in Kashmir, except Verinag, follow a similar pattern, with a central water channel sourced at natural springs. There are one or more baradaries or pavilions with a central open space known as dalan, which is placed over these water channels. So let us look at some of the Mughal gardens in Jammu and Kashmir. The first one is Achhabal Bagh. Though this one was built around the early 15th century, the present garden was laid by Empress Noor Jahan in the year 1620. Next we have the Chasma Shahi. This was built by Emperor Shah Jahan in the year 1632. Next we have the Nishad Bagh, which was laid out in the year 1634 by Mirza Abul Hassan. Let us look at some of the other important Mughal gardens in Jammu and Kashmir. Pari Mahal. This is a seven-terraced garden and it means the palace of fairies, and it was built by Dara Shikoh. Next we have the Shalimar Bagh. The original Shalimar Villa was built by Pravar Sena II in the late 6th century, and it was later renovated by various Mughal kings. Next we have Verinagh, which is an octagonal pavilion garden. The date of construction of this garden is supposed to be around 1619 to 1620. After the Mughal gardens, let's look at some more forts and palaces that are present in Jammu and Kashmir. The next one is Poonch Fort. The foundation of this fort was laid in the year 1713 by Raja Abdul Razak Khan, but the construction of the same was completed by his son Raja Rustam Khan between 1760 and 1787. Ramnagar Palace. This palace is nestled on the banks of the Mansa Devi Nalla, which is a tributary of the Tavi River. The Ramnagar fort was constructed by the then king of the region, Raja Suchet Singh. Jammu and Kashmir has a lot of tombs as well. Let us look at some of them. The first one is the shrine of Hazrat Ganga Baba Rishi. This shrine is located in Pushkar and is dedicated to Baba Rishi. The next one is the shrine of Khan Sahib. This shrine is associated with the famous saint Hazrat Salen Khan. Next we have the shrine of Syed Muhammad Samri. This shrine is located at Lasapora. Syed Muhammad Samri was buried at Lasapora. The next tomb is the tomb of Mir Shamsuddin Iraqi. Shamsuddin Iraqi was a well-known Shiite theologist. Next we have the tomb of Madin Shah. This tomb has been constructed in the 15th century Kashmiri architectural style. Jammu and Kashmir also has some important historical sites related to Buddhism. Thikse Gompa is one of them. Located to the north of the Indus River on a hilltop, Thikse Monastery was built in 1430 and it belongs to the Gelugpa order of Buddhism. Lakhang Nyarma, a temple dedicated to goddess Dorje Chenmo, is within the Thikse Monastery. Now let us look at some of the important historical places that are of religious importance as well. The Panch Peer. The Dargah of Panch Peer is located close to the Maharaja Palace of Dogra dynasty. This site is believed to be the place of meditation and preaching of the 5 Sufi saints, hence the name Panch Peer. Peer Kho Cave Temple. This temple is dedicated to Lord Shiva and enshrines a black Swayambhu, that is naturally formed Shiva Lingam. There are 2 natural caves inside this shrine. Next we have the famous Vaishno Devi Mandir. Located in Trikuta Hills, Vaishno Devi Mandir is dedicated to the Hindu deity Vaishno Devi, endearingly known as Mata Rani or Goddess Durga. This holy abode of the goddess is situated at an altitude of 5,200 feet above the sea level. Lastly, we have the Ziyarat Pir Mitha. This dargah, also known as Pir Mitha, is a revered Islamic shrine. This shrine is dedicated to Baba Ziyarat, who was an esteemed Muslim saint. So this brings us to the end of this discussion on the history of Jammu and Kashmir. We hope this helps you a lot in your preparations. For more such amazing content, keep watching Oliport.